Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how you can from this image to that image in Photoshop. Alright guys, my name is Philip and let's jump right into Photoshop. So let's start off with a new layer by hitting Command-Alt-Shift+N, which will just create a new layer as you can see down here. And let me show you what I'm going to do today. So let's press B for the brush and make our brush a little bit smaller because we don't need a massive thing. Select the nice red color and here's what's going to happen. I want obviously first of all get rid of all that crap over here and then of course of the wire here as well, everywhere actually. And this kind of side thing there, and also there is a little fence down here which has to go so definitely away. It hurts. There's also a house here which has to leave, and there's a bit of stuff there which has to go. Then I want some drama in the sky like crazy, and I want to give the hair a nice the horse a nice haircut, or better a nice hair color, which will be like a nice golden blonde. Then I want to basically hide all these areas in front here, so make these really dark. And then I want to get off and do the same thing on this part here and just bring out the greens over here. So while it looks all really confusing, we're going to just start off by cleaning the image. So first things first, always double the background layer. At least that's what I'm always doing by hitting Command and J on the keyboard. And you see, now we have another layer here, which is exactly the same as the background layer. And in order to get rid of all this stuff, I'm just going to create a new layer again. So you can also click on the new layer symbol down here, and that'll create a new layer there. So to be honest guys, I'm a lazy guy, right? So I always get rid of these kind of things like wires and stuff like that, just simply by using the spot heating brush tool. So if you hit J on your keyboard, you'll see that your brush heating spot tool, the one, you know which ones I mean, right? It's going to be selected. And in this instance, I just try and error, right? You mean as far as you can go with not doing a lot of work. That's brilliant. That's exactly what you want. So first of all, we need to have a very hard brush. So let's go the hardness up to 100 and just follow the contours of that thing until it's gone. Bit here. My Wacom tablet is not in the perfect position. Just gonna get used to it. That's that. And the only times when you actually have to, use something else than the spot heating brush tool, at least in these kind of instances, is when you hit sort of an edge, like the transition of the grass to the horse. So that's where it's gonna be a little bit more tricky, but not an issue, not for us, no problem at all. Just want to cut through here once. Yes, that's not bad. Now let's zoom in here. By the way, if you hold spacebar pressed on your keyboard, then you can just move around. When you press space, the little hand appears and you can move the image around. Good. So for this kind of instance, we're just going to press S on the keyboard, which will bring up the clone stamp tool. And with the clone stamp tool, just select the source, for example, here, go with an opacity of 100% and just make the transition pretty. So something like that. Switch back to J and get rid of any residuals which have been still there. Good, so that was that, and here's another bit of a transition which we may have to take care of. Let's see how that looks. Get rid of that. Okay, so let's hit S again for the clone stamp tool, select the source, something like here, and just run it over, and we are pretty good right there. Now here's a big thing. So instead of not using the spot heating brush tool, I will use the spot heating brush tool, and I'll just go over the whole damn thing. And sometimes these things work, sometimes they don't. In this instance, I do know that they work, so I'm quite happy with that. Let's get rid of that as well. And let's make that a bit, no, relax, all good. Let's make it a bit smaller again. And just go along the wire until it's gone. I'm just going to show you on this wire here, and then I'm going to remove the other ones, just not to bore you to death and wait for me for about 10 minutes to do that. And normally you would you want to take your time. These are things. Cleaning up the image originally is going to take a little bit, but it's going to change the picture right away. It's going to make it so much more clean, beautiful. Okay, you go away, and then let's see if we can get rid of that. And I'm actually not going to continue here because I think I've cropped the image. So next step will be cropping. But first, let's get the clone stamp once more, and maybe actually reduce the size of that clone stamp a bit to something like that. And bring that over here. Good, and we have done that. Go back to J, which is the spot heating brush tool, and clean that up. Perfect. So now we have already gotten rid, Philip has to learn to speak, of one of the metal wires, which is great. And I'm just going to continue with the rest, and then I'll bring you back. And we're back, and I did nothing else than using the spot healing brush tool and, removed everything in that image. And I cropped a little bit. I cropped a little bit at the bottom and a little bit on the right, but, and even the house, I mean, if you just, concentrate on that part right here, there's a house. So I just made a really, really massive spot healing brush tool, and I just replaced it with a little, a little hill. Perfect. What else do you want? I mean, you can spend more work or more time into that, but why would we? So let's start to work on other things. How about we bring down the saturation first? Because finally or ultimately, I want the attention on the horse, right? And it's a bit too green and it's a bit too bright, so let's just change that. Let's bring down the saturation to maybe something like that. And yeah, we may actually apply that to the whole image because we're going to bring color back to the horse later. So now that we have done that, let's do a bit of sky. And first of all, let's bring down the brightness in that sky, right? Maybe to, I'm just looking at the sky here, maybe to something like, yeah, maybe this could work. Once we have done that, and we can just hit Command and I on the keyboard with the curve adjustment layer selected, which will hide everything. So now the thing is black. So if we want to make the effect visible in certain areas, we're going to have to paint with white. And in order to do that, I'm going to hit brush on my keyboard, make a nice and big brush right here, hit D for default colors, and make sure that black is in the foreground. Sorry, that white is actually in the foreground by hitting X on the keyboard. And now we can just bring that sky in wherever we feel like here and there and a bit of here. And that ear might as well be a little bit darker. Why wouldn't it? Let's do that. And here and there, something like this. Cool. And if you just go over, no biggie, just get rid of it again. Okay, let's go with an opacity of 20% and just make sure that we bring that in here just a little bit as well, so that there is no hard edge, right? Okay, so now we have a nice and dark kind of moody sky. And if you, I don't know if you see that, of course you see that there's a bit of sky up here, and we don't really want the kind of blue sky or a big part of a blue sky. There's another one here, I don't care. So, but let's get rid of this one. So just make a new layer, and as usual, hit J on the keyboard, make it nice and big, and just go over it, and you'll see that Photoshop knows exactly what I want, which is no cloud whatsoever. Brilliant. Now, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to hit Command-Alt-Shift-E on the keyboard, and that'll make a so-called stamp visible. So everything which we have done before and everything which was visible on the screen right here is going to be placed on a new layer, right? And in this instance, I will use the only Nick collection filter I'm using constantly now, because it just saves a bit of work on my side, which is the tonal contrast. And I just love that kind of filter. I mean, Nick is free, right? You are aware that the Nick collection is free. So if you do not have it, go and get it right now. Pause the video, get it. Did you get it? All right. So, and while this is thinking, so you can as well load a layer in here and see if you can get any nice ideas. I always go for the exact same one, which is the tonal contrast. I'll just hit OK right there. I don't even have to look if it looks good, because I know it always gives a nice dramatic effect to any kind of image you place in there. So once this has finished, I'm going to bring it back because I'm going to have to think a couple of seconds. And we're back. Now the laser can be stopped. Let's see what that did. Now if I toggle that on or off the effect, you definitely see a clear difference, right? It just adds crispness, if that is a word, to the whole image, and I'm just loving it. Okay, so let's make the ground a little bit darker. We're just going to use a normal curve adjustment layer. Bring it down. I'm just looking at the ground right here. I'm kind of happy with that, and I'm going to hit Command and I on the keyboard to actually invert that. Hit B to get the brush, make a nice big brush, and opacity of 80%. Which I, by the way, get by hitting 8 on the keyboard. Let's make it a little bit less hard. Do something like that, maybe. Cool. And I'll do the same thing here. I'm doing that very rough, right? I mean, you obviously, hopefully realize that this is not my normal working speed. So I apologize if it doesn't look perfect, but you will definitely get a good idea of how that works. And that is all I want today. Good, something like that. Hit X and just get rid of it like there, and maybe a little bit right here as well. Good, that doesn't look bad at all. X again, let's clean that up a little bit. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a darker ground, and I leave these kind of bright areas back here on purpose. So just, bear with me, trust me, all is going to be well. Now let's enhance that sky a little bit further. So what we're going to do is we're going to do another stamp visible by hitting Command, Alt, Shift, and E on the keyboard. Remember, we copy everything we can see onto a new layer. We're going to go to Filter, Blur, and Motion Blur. And within motion blur, which is actually not the correct one, we're going to try that again. We go to filter, blah, 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 and we go to radial blur. Yes, that's the one. So here we're going to work a little bit on the sky. So I'm going to set my blur method to zoom. And I'm going to place the center of the blur, which is like, right here. Unfortunately, you don't get a real life preview, which sucks a bit, but there you go. So I'm going to place it about there. 10 pixels seems to be appropriate. I'm just going to hit go for it, and this is going to give me a nice effect for the clouds. And you'll see what I'll talk about in just a minute. Hopefully it's not a minute. Do it right now. Yes. Okay. So now that we have done that, I'm actually going to just straight away do it again, and I'm going to increase the pixels, okay, because that's definitely not enough. Like, I want more. So let's go with 30 and do it again. Do it for me right now. Right now. All right, I'll bring it back once it's done. And we're back, and it did it. So now we have a terrible mess. So we're going to create a layer mask by hitting the little Japanese flag symbol down here. And if you don't know how layer masks work, just check out the channel at image.com and you will find a quick introduction to it. Cool. So what I want to do is I want to hide this effect from certain areas. So let's make the brush nice and big. Make sure we're painting in black. Now, you know what? We're going to do it the other way. We're going to hit Command and I, hide the effect everywhere, and then I'm going to paint with white where we want it. And I kind of want it to a level such as like that, maybe something like this. And don't want to go too close into the horse because it's going to just leave me with more trouble than it's worth. Okay, that's not bad. I can definitely live with that. Good. So, and we can actually enhance that a little bit further by just doing another curve adjustment layer right here and decreasing the brightness of that curve adjustment layer like so. Inverting it like Command and I and so, and with an opacity of 50%, again, just darkening certain areas of these clouds, right? It depends on the level of drama you want within that clouds. I do like a good bit of drama on occasion. Today's one of these days. And okay, that's looking good, looking great. I'm loving it. And you can obviously experiment where you place the center of that blur and stuff. So it's, mostly it's a great effect. So let's do a bit of, let's give the horse a bit of a nice color for the hair. And the way we're going to do is by hitting Command-Alt-Shift+N once more, which is going to create a stamp visible. I'm going to change the blend mode from normal down to overlay. Okay. And I'm going to go to filter and I'm going to go to blur. I'm just going to go for a Gaussian blur and just a tiny little bit, something like that is not bad. Good. So what that does, if I switch it off and I'm switching on again, you see it naturally brings out the sort of blondish goldish hair color, maybe a bit of brown in there as well, of the horse. It's actually also doing something very interesting with these clouds up here, but I'm going to ignore that. And I'm also going to use a bit for that for the ground here. So as usual, layer mask. Okay. And I'm going to invert it by hitting Command and I, and I'm just going to pencil it through where I want it. Okay, so B for the brush with an opacity of 50%. I'm just going to bring out the color of the hair of that horse, like that. Oh yeah, beautiful. Look at you. Okay, maybe here as well a little bit, and surely we can do that. And maybe a bit here. Let's see how that looked without the layer mask. If you hold Shift, if you hold Shift on your keyboard and then you click on the layer mask, it's going to toggle on or off. So that's really good if you want to know if there are areas you want, right? So in this case, I think I'm happy enough with the horse. Maybe a little bit more. Oh, that's definitely the wrong color. We do not want that. There we go. There we go. Okay, now let's make that a bit bigger and just, darken the, what is that, foreground, background, both, whatever. The soil on which the horse stands. Good. And make that smaller. Zoom in quickly. Zoom in like that. And just, fill in the gaps. You want to be as clean as possible. Cool. Brilliant. Loving it. Good. And let's actually bring that out a little bit more by just adding a simple hue saturation layer and just increase the saturation a bit. Right? Just maybe to something like that. Not bad at all. Cool. I do actually enjoy that image very much right now. Now, when you work, you will always see that after a while things are popping up you're not too happy with. I'll give you an example. For example, here it's nice and green. Here it's a bit more yellow in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to hit B for my brush. I'm going to sample the color here. And the way I do that is I just hold Alt on my keyboard, press into the green, right? And with an opacity of about 30%, I'm going to paint that over here. And I'm going to change the blend mode from normal down to color, and it will just colorize that a little bit more, okay, so that the colors on these both two sides basically match up a bit better. And that is all, right? Good, and also, now let's do another layer again. The horse has a funny problem with his hair, or her hair. I don't actually know, I didn't ask. And let's just, use J, get your pose heating brush tool, make it a bit bigger, and just go over it, and it's just going to disappear so fast it's hurting. Good, we like that, we're liking it a lot. Okay, now while the image is quite sharp, we can sharpen it a little bit more if we feel like. And the way to do that, and this would be also the last step for that image, is quite, oh no, actually it wouldn't. Now that we're here, let's stay with J and clean up these little dots on the floor a little bit. Not all of them, but a couple of them. They are distracting, and I do want the eye to be able to rest a little bit on the horse, and then maybe go back to the sky or whatever. So, sharpening, quite super easy, hardcore simple, hitting Command-Alt-Shift and E, which is going to do a stamp visible. Okay, and then again we're going to change from blend mode normal to overlay, and we're going to go to filter, other, and then high pass. And that's just called high pass sharpening, and I'm a big friend of that. So let's go with a radius of 0.5 pixels, and you're going to see what that actually is, or what it's doing. And let's zoom in, and let's zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, I just upgraded my camera, so now it's just incredibly sharp. I'm loving it. And let's do the following thing. If I hit Command and J, I'll duplicate that layer, okay? And every time I duplicate it, the image becomes sharper and sharper and sharper, obviously to an extent where it's just not right anymore, right? So let's remove a couple of those, and maybe put another one or so in there. And if I group them up by hitting Shift, selecting them all, and then hitting Command and G to group them, and I toggle that on or off, I hope you're able to see that in the video as well. Things will become sharper if I switch that on. Now we don't want that everywhere, so again, layer mask by hitting the Japanese symbol, B for the brush, and we want to hide, well actually we're going to hit invert it by hitting Command and I, so it's not visible anymore anywhere. And now with the brush and white, we're just going to bring back an opacity of 50%, this sharpness wherever we feel like. And I feel like it should be here. I defo feel like it should be in that hair. Oh yeah, do it. Awesomeness. Such a pretty horse. Ugh. I'm normally not the biggest horse person in the world, but this, wow, really beautiful thing. Okay, so now that we have sharpened that a little bit, let's toggle that on and off. Okay, you'll see it especially in the eye if we concentrate right there, and it's looking good. That was definitely the wrong button. Let's switch that on. Good. And the last thing which we should do, I guess, just to complete the story, if I go over here and I'll zoom in right there, you see there's noise in the image, right? We do not like noise. So let's do another stamp visible by hitting Command, Alt, Shift, and E on the keyboard. And then once we have that, we go to Filter, and I said Filter, and we go to Camera Raw Filter. And it's going to think for a second. 3, 2, 1, go. Awesome. We're going to go to here, which is Detail, and there you have Noise Reduction. I'm just going to, zoom in until I find the... Oh, that takes forever. So okay, let's do that. And let's go to the point, which is here, and just see how high we have to go. In the end, it's in the clouds, so I don't really care if it blurs a little bit too much in the clouds. I just want it in the clouds. That's all I want. That's all I need. So, okay, that's doing a good job, fair enough. So I'm just going to just hit OK, let it think for a second. Oh, it really just took a second. Going to put a layer mask on it. I'm going to hit Command and I to invert that layer mask, and with an opacity of 50%, I'll bring that noise reduction through wherever I have the feeling we need it. Here a little bit more. Awesome. And here a little bit, words a little bit there. Good, that's not bad at all. Let's try to move over there. Here a bit, yeah, good. And actually, because it just takes far too long, I'm just gonna zoom out, make that big, and just say you all. Yes, I'm very happy. Give you some noise reduction right there. Coolio. And that is basically how I worked on this image of this beautiful horse in the south of Ireland. Okay, this is all there was to process this image of a random horse into a really, really, really nice horse. So I'm very happy with this one. If you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to drop them below, either in the blog or on any social network or on YouTube. And YouTube mentioning that, you definitely should push that like button if you did like the video. And if you haven't already, please do not forget to subscribe also, as I will upload weekly stuff and things for Photoshop. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you later. Bye!